Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Side to Side Sportscast, where it's your boys, Will, Wudi, and CJ, and you already know we come to break it down from the court side, the ring side, the sidelines, and for those sports they play outdoors, we outside, we side to side, that's how we ride. And today we have a special guest representing New York to the fullest. It's our boy, Nick Talarico. Oh, gotta bring him on the show. There we go.
What's
Nick,
going
what's
on,
up,
guys?
baby?
How's everybody doing?
Hey, man, we're doing good, man. Glad to have you on with us.
Thank you guys so much for inviting me. I appreciate it. Looking forward to a great episode and some awesome topics in the sports world today.
I love the unplanned Mets gear. We out here mixing and matching.
Listen, there was only two choices of what I was going to do. I was like, you know what? The Mets are playing a close game right now. Let me just throw on a Mets hat and play it safe right now.
The Nets just played the Phillies last night, and that was apparently a very close game.
I think I'm going to get to that a little bit later on, actually. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, Nick, we want to know about you, the sports fan. Tell us a little bit about your favorite teams, the teams you hate, and the sports you like, the sports and the players, the sports players that you like and dislike.
Absolutely, man. Well, I mean, as you can see, first and foremost, born and raised Mets fan. Actually living in Westchester, New York right now, so I'm really close trip to Queens. I was a season ticket holder last season. So I'm actually, I didn't get to renew those this year, but I plan on doing that again. Besides the Mets, I know you guys are huge wrestling fans as well. So I am a big WWE fan, AEW, professional wrestling as a whole, mixed martial arts fan. Used to do a little bit of stuff on the side. So mixed martial arts, wrestling, baseball, and college basketball is obviously a big thing for me as well. Teams that I hate, I mean, as a Mets fan, I'm not going to say I hate the Yankees. I'm not going to be that Mets fan. I will say I definitely dislike the Braves, Phillies, guys like Chipper Jones made my childhood a living nightmare. Not the biggest Bryce Harper fan. Respect him as a player, but as a person, not a big fan of him. And then going into the basketball world, I could definitely do without JJ Redick in this world.
Wow.
Just
because he's a Duke
I
player.
cannot stand JJ Redick with a passion.
Wow.
Listen,
that must be from college, huh?
That is a big college thing going into one of my other favorite teams besides the Mets. I'm a diehard North Carolina Tar Heel fan. So Duke, Carolina, JJ Redick, it just he stuck it to me a couple times when he was playing for Duke. So he's definitely on the list of players that I dislike the most.
That is interesting. You know, if I were to make a list of top 5 players, I don't think people would have a problem with. I would think JJ Redick would be on that list. That one.
You ask any Tar Heel fan though, like any true Tar Heel fan who's been watching college basketball for at least a couple decades, I think he's going to be on that list for most Tar Heel fans, and actually probably for most ACC fans in general.
Yeah, man, it was a rough one. So speaking of the Tar Heels, who do you dislike from Kansas? Because or do you dislike somebody from your own Tar Heels? Because it looked like the Tar Heels were going to bring home their 7th national championship, and they just came up a little short, unfortunately.
I have nothing against Kansas. They're one of the blue bloods. They're one of the greatest colleges in college basketball. I mean, the Final Four was just stacked with college basketball royalty, basically between Kansas, Villanova, North Carolina, and Duke. So like you had college basketball royalty, regardless of what the seeding was. I don't dislike Kansas at all. Duke, on the other hand, the Final Four game was a lot different. And I don't fault anybody from Carolina. They weren't 100% healthy, not to make excuses. Baycott was hurt most of the tournament. I mean, he played that rough game against Baylor. where everything was physical between Manic getting thrown out with the flagrant. And just there was the court issue, I guess, in the second half. I mean, in the last minute of the game when he went up for that layup and the court sort of buckled underneath him. But again, not to make excuses, Carolina might have been up by 15 at half in the national title game. I actually think they got outplayed in the first half. Kansas couldn't make shots, and Carolina was playing off of that and sinking shots when they needed to. But I actually thought Kansas outplayed North Carolina for the first maybe 15 minutes or so of that first half.
I couldn't agree with you more. It was actually, the score doesn't tell the whole story.
Yeah.
It's a make or miss game, and Kansas, those shots start falling. Once they start falling, man, they were just on a roll from there.
In the second half, once it got down to 8 within 3 minutes, I was like, okay, here we go. I listen when they had that turnover with I think it was 4.3 seconds left or 4.2 seconons left in the game.
Stepped out of bounds.
He did, and I was like, okay, this is our chance right here. And unfortunately, they couldn't get the job done. But listen, the team was an 8 seed. They had a roller coaster of a season, up and down. Roy Williams left last year. You had Hubert as a first-year coach. I couldn't have asked for anything more from this team, really. They had some rough games during the regular season where they lost by 20 to Miami, and they got blown out by Pittsburgh, which was the last big loss that they had besides the ACC final against Virginia Tech. But overall, they had some really, really solid games. They have great talent. And listen, I'm hearing a lot of rumors about possibly running it back next year. So, I mean, the only one that is for sure leaving is Brady Manic because he was a fifth-year transfer. But Baycott could stay. He was in a boot when they got back to Chapel Hill. So if he stays, Caleb Love is rumored to leave, not leave. Nobody has any idea. So if they stay, and maybe they get a transfer portal signing or something like that, along with their 5-star recruit that they have coming in next year, they could run it back and do it again. And I think if Baycott and Love come back, they're going to be a top 5 preseason favorite.
I think Love needs another year, man.
I do too personally. I don't think he's pro ready yet. Baycott, healthy Baycott. I actually think Baycott's pro ready. I think he might get bodied early, especially the physicality that he had in college, especially this past year. But I think he'll be fine. Caleb definitely needs another year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what I saw in the final game, right? He had some amazing games in the tournament. There's no doubt about it, right? He carried you guys for a couple of them. So
yeah.
But when you watch the final game where you're playing the best team from the other side, he's supposed to be the go-to scorer, and it felt like a lot of forcing it, right?
Yeah.
He just forced a lot and didn't always make the right play.
Exactly.
So another year of college basketball, could certainly help him out, and his stock could be higher. I think he would fall to a mid to late round first round pick at this point.
I think I agree. I think late first round. He might even fall to the second round because of that question mark on just in general. Is he pro ready? I think Baycott, if he's healthy, he's top half of the first round for sure, especially his size. I heard a lot of people, not to compare his game to Kevin Durant, but I heard a lot of people compare his size to Kevin Durant coming out of Texas. A guy who was lanky. They were very everybody was saying, is he physical? Is he going to be physical enough to play in the NBA? And then obviously he put on some more weight, and he was just fine. But I think there's a chance that they run it back next year. And as much as I love Brady Manic, you can find guys who can shoot the three. There's no problem finding guys who can shoot three. Replacing a guy like Baycott, that's going to be where you're going to see some struggles if he decides to go pro.
I don't think he's coming back. I wish y'all. You already know. Tarhelia. I'm hoping he comes back.
I do too.
Yeah,
I think it's right now. I think it's something like 85-90% 98% of my heart says that he's not going to come back.
Yeah.
I hope he does. I really do. Because I think if he comes back, they have a real shot of winning a national title.
When you're a guaranteed lottery pick, it's hard to pass that up. You know,
It is.
You could get hurt next year and your draft stock could plummet. But I really would love to see Baycott come back. Baycott, I think his game at 6'10", near 240, you know, he's got that it's like a smaller league nowadays.
Yeah.
And I think he can play in it. And he plays tough. You know, he bangs, he can get the rebounds. He's if he comes back and you get Caleb Love back. Now, see, I am a big fan of Caleb Love's game. I just think he had a young mistake in the national championship. RJ was the hot one in the second half.
He was.
And RJ was getting buckets early, but then Caleb tried to get off. And, you know, Hubert Davis being a first year coach, you know, you've come this far with Caleb. You tried to let him get back into the game, but it was the worst time for him to be trying to find his shot. Should have just kept feeding RJ. I actually think if Caleb was a little bit more disciplined and he did keep feeding RJ and just let RJ shine in the national title, that actually would have improved his draft stock, because NFL scouts would have said this kid can run a team. That's what we need. And I think he would have at worst gotten drafted by the Knicks. And I'm not saying at worst as a sham on the Knicks. I'm just saying, like, the Knicks have been trying to draft a legit point guard almost my whole entire life. And this year they have a chance to, you know, luck out, because Ty Washington from Kentucky, they got bounced in the first round. And then, you know, if Caleb Love enters the draft, he could be an option. So definitely shout out to Tar Heels. Now, since we're talking about young college players, it's only right that we talk about on the next side on the other side of the court side in the NBA, some of our season awards. And let's start off with the NBA Rookies of the Year. It's a tight race. You know, it started off the year looking like it was a 1 or 2 player race, but it's become a 3-player race. A lot of different opinions on who should win the NBA Rookie of the Year, but I'm curious to know what you fellas think. Who should win Rookie of the Year?
Starting with Rookie of the Year. All right. I mean, we popped that question up on our social media on Instagram, and you know there was definitely some split decisions, right? Like the majority did not go with who I thought, and that's Evan Mobley. This man helped turn that team around, like just straight up. They're a playoff team right now, playing the Brooklyn Nets in a play-in game, and you know this is with guys getting hurt all season. You know, Colin Sexton not being there, and Garland missing some time. Like, you know, and I just looked it up. As of right now, when we are airing the show, they lost to the Brooklyn Nets by 7 tonight. But Evan Mobley went for 19-7 in that game. So very respectable game from Evan Mobley. And he really completed that roster. You know, with two young point guards, Garland and Sexton back there, you really needed to have somebody on the inside and be able to stretch the floor in today's game. And man, this guy's good. He's a great player. I think he's Rookie of the Year. I think he deserves it.
You know, I feel like there wasn't a lot of love because he's just not the sexy option. You know, everyone, you know, loves, you know, Cade. You know, everyone's always chasing, right? Like, you know, the number 1 pick, right? You know, they want to follow that person's career. Then, you know, you have somebody like Barnes, right, who had highlights. But I personally think if we're talking about a rookie who did their job and fulfilled their role on their team, I'm going to second the Evan Mobley choice. I'm awarding him Rookie of the Year. I mean, Jared Allen went down, and I'm not going to say the Cavs, you know, didn't skip a beat, you know, because they kind of tumbled down those standings, but they are still a respectable team that will be fighting for their lives for this 8th playoff spot. But I do think he is the most important cog of the three, guys that were on the IG piece. Cade, I mean, the Pistons were bad. He was struggling for a while. Now he finally found his groove, but it's not rookie of the last 2 months. It's rookie of the year. So I'm already disqualifying him. Then we got Barnes. And Barnes, he has been great. If we're looking, strictly off of social media, I feel like it's almost a Barnes landslide. But who played the more integral role to their team's success? I got to say, Evan Mobley. Their stats are very comparable. Mobley's up in some, Barnes is up in another, but that's only because they play different positions. So I'm going to give it to Evan Mobley.
I just want to say, to your point, that is not rookie of the past 2 months, is rookie of the year. Cade Cunningham has done something this year, not just in the past 2 months, that only 14 other rookies have done. He is the 15th player to average at least 15, 5, and 5 in his rookie season. He averaged 17, 5, and 5. And all of the other 14 have won rookie of the year. He would be the first not to do it. So Cade Cunningham, yes, he started off pretty slow, but he is in fact the leader of that poor Detroit Pistons team. It's not his fault that that team isn't good. Evan Mobley wound up in a pretty good situation. Yes, the Cavs took us by storm, and I do think he is stepped up as their franchise player right now. It's hands down their best player. He's really good. All phases of the game, very good defensively, and I am not opposed to Evan Mobley being defensive player of the year. Scotty Barnes, also tremendous talent. This guy can get up the court with 3 dribbles. There's not many people in the league doing that who get a rebound, get up court in 3 dribbles, and score. His stride is ridiculous. He's having a great season, and everybody's going to really get to see him shine in the playoffs this year when they play against the Philadelphia 76ers. I feel like Toronto was really hitting this year. They didn't have a lot of airtime on TV, so I'm really looking forward to that. But I feel like Cade Cunningham is not in the conversation because the Detroit Pistons were not a good team. And that's not all his fault. I mean, they didn't win a game without him this year. They didn't win a single game without him. But once he came back, they still haven't been a great team. But he played himself into being a leader on that team. He'll do whatever it takes to win. And averaging 17, 5, and 5. LaMelo Ball just is the recent player who did it. And all of these guys won Rookie of the Year. I think Cade Cunningham should be the Rookie of the Year. He would get my vote if I had a valid vote. I'm giving it to Cade.
I can't disagree with that. I mean, it's really hard to go 17, 5, and 5, not being a top star in the NBA, but doing it in your rookie season, that is very impressive for sure. I'm actually going to go a completely different way than all three of you. I'm actually going to go with Scotty Barnes from Toronto. My big thing is, and this has nothing to do with his playing style in general, it's difficult to play in Toronto, especially the last 3 years. The last 3 years with COVID and everything going on, especially in Canada, where they didn't have fans like at all for most of the season. It's tough. I mean, you saw it when they were playing in the I think it was Florida site in 2020, where it's literally just you against your opponent and the refs. There's no fans. There's nothing. And I think that plays a part in the mental part of the sport. And listen, both him and Mobley, their stats are pretty similar. 15-8, 3.5 for Barnes. You have 15-8, 2.5 for Evan. And I think it's going to be a close race. And I actually don't think, like you said, I don't think Cade's going to get a lot of love when it comes to the actual voting. I think you're going to see all first place votes go to either Scotty or Evan. And I think when it comes down to it, I think Barnes is going to edge him out barely, probably by a couple votes here and there.
Hey, listen, between Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes, and Cade Cunningham, I don't think there could be a choice for Rookie of the Year that people could really feel like someone was cheated. I mean, 3 deserving players, but I can, even though Cade Cunningham would get my vote, Evan Mobley and Scotty Barnes having their teams in the playoffs in their rookie season, you really cannot discredit that. Now, aside from the rookie of the year, let's go to defensive player of the year. This has been a year where usually the defensive player of the year is like the man who's rebounding the ball at a high clip or blocking a lot of shots. It's been a big man's award recently, but there's 2 particular players who really stick out to me. And I'm going to go with the home favorite, Mikal Bridges. When I say the home favorite, I mean my boy is from Philly, like your boy Willie. But he's playing for the Phoenix Suns, and I'm going to be in Arizona soon. But listen, Mikal Bridges has played every single game of his career, and he is a big reason why the Phoenix Suns are as good as they are. He can guard any perimeter position on the court. And for those stretch fours, you could put Mikal out there on him. He's lanky, and he's just had a tremendous defensive impact this year. So if I'm picking defensive rookie of the year from the best team on the, this year in the season, I'm absolutely giving it to Mikal Bridges. What say you?
I am unshocked by your selection, as you would be mine.
I figured you were going to go next.
Just guess. I'll give you guys I'll give you guys a guess. Will and James probably know exactly what I'm going to say right now.
I sure do.
Bulldog on the Celtics, my man, Marcus Smart. Let's give it to him. Come on. Like, this guy is just, every year he is a dog out there, and he is just, he has made his money playing defense, because up until, recent, maybe the past 2 years, just Celtics Nation, I'll tell you what, it's been tough watching some of these games, watching Marcus Smart try and get trigger happy and do some step back threes and stuff that we just don't need out there. But if there's one thing that you can rely on, it is Marcus Smart locking up somebody's best star. I don't care what size they are. I don't care if it's Giannis. He is up for the task. I'm not saying he shuts down Giannis. Okay, I'm not getting too far out of my. I don't have my green goggles on right now. Okay, I understand.
You always got those on.
But
they're like contact.
If we're doing the defensive player of the year, I'm not going to say anymore. I think Marcus Smart deserves it.
Yeah, I can't deny that. I can't deny that.
Well, I'm gonna go with my pick for defensive player of the year. I mean, I'm going to go with somebody who's on one of the best defensive teams. I mean, I guess, everybody that we've said so far actually are on good defensive teams, but I feel like defense is this team's calling card. He's the best defender. I'm one of the best teams in the league. I'm going to go with my man, Bam Bam Adebayo. Is my pick. I don't like that it's generally, a center award or the Rudy Gobert award. But Bam, he's out here. He can play, or he can defend against multiple positions, and holds down the paint. So he's my pick. Nothing more to say. Bam Bam Adebayo.
And I think you guys mentioned it. It's the defensive player award has always been a big man's award. And that's why I like CJ's pick of Marcus Smart, because you need a smaller lockdown defender. Because you need somebody to keep the ball on the perimeter and keep it out of the paint, run the shot clock down, have them start shooting up, chucking up bad threes. So I think having somebody like Marcus Smart win the award is actually would be a really, really good thing for the NBA. It shows that it's not just a big man's award like it always has been.
Great pick. So how about next we talk about the most improved player of the year? Now, to me, there's a couple candidates for this award, but I don't know what the margin is between the candidates, but there's only one. To me, there's only one answer. I gotta give it to Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole has significantly upgraded his game in his third season to where he was actually at times the reason why the Golden State Warriors were holding on without Steph, without Dre, and without Clay out there. You know, it was the Jordan Poole show. He's gotten better every year, and this year averaging, just under 19 points a game, shooting at a career high 48%. Very consistent shooter from the three. He's been able to play both guard positions. I just think that the jump from last year to this year for him, he gets my most improved player.
The biggest jump that Jordan Poole has had from last year to this year is his minutes per game, which is plus. I'm not saying that he's not better because he clearly is, and he is a contender of mine for sure. But to see what DeJounte Murray has done with the similar minutes, he's up 2 minutes from last year. And if we're looking at the increase, Poole went up, 6.5 points. Murray went up 6. Okay, Poole went up 1.6 rebounds. Murray went up 1.6. And then the assists is really where Murray took his game to the next level. He went up plus 5.1 assists from last year to Poole's, 1.6. And again, this is similar minutes, and Murray took his game to the next level. He is the NBA leader in steals per game. Okay, I feel like Murray has really turned himself into a franchise player. He broke the Spurs franchise record for triple doubles in a season. This guy, he's just not the sexy pick, right? Because the Spurs aren't the Spurs, right? So Murray's just out there just shining in the dark. And we see, guys like Poole, and there are a couple other, improved guys that we may hear about, from CJ and Nick. But I truly believe that Murray, in similar minutes from last year, to up his stats that much, I feel like he is far and ahead my pick for most improved player.
Nick, I'm going to let you clean this one up because I hate to say it, listeners, but once again, Wudi and I are on the same page here. We do this before the show, and we don't talk. This is just we are given the topics, and so this is unscripted. But I would have said all of the points that you did. These are my bullet points on DeJounte Murray, and you just checked all the boxes off, and I'm like, crap. I guess I have nothing to offer this segment. But but he also one thing I do want to point out is that not only has he improved in all of those categories, he's taking 4 more shots per game, and somehow his field goal percentage is higher this year. So he has improved his efficiency, while also taking on all of the responsibility of now being one of the leading scorers. He's always been a leader on the defensive end. He's always been great. He now leads the league in steals. We've known that, right? Great defensive player. He's now an all-star. He's now leading the team in scoring, and he's doing so at a much higher rate. So it's been there. Now, I think the last piece to his game that needs to evolve is certainly 3-point shooting. And that's when he starts to get into MVP caliber conversations, because that 21 points per game elevates to 28 because he's making, 3-4 3-pointers a game. So when he learns how to do that, boy, watch out. But right now, most improved player without a doubt in my mind.
And see, I have to go with the favorite for this award right now, and that's Ja Morant. I just think right now from last year, he's upped by 8 points per game. He's improved in almost every offensive category, with field goal percentage, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. Between offensive and defensive rebounds, I think he's out rebounding by almost 3 rebounds a game compared to last season. The only thing that he went down in was assists, but I think that's because he took control of the ball a little bit more this season. So I got to go with Ja on this one. I hate picking the favorite in a category for awards, but I got to go Ja on this one.
Hey, these four players are definitely the four players to be talking about in this category. I would have to imagine that one of these four will win it for sure.
Who's the fourth?
I will say though, also let's keep in
three
mind that
players, I'm sorry.
Three players. Ja also played in 10 less games.
He did. He did play in less games, and I think that obviously in turn affected his field goal percentage. I mean, I think points per game probably would have stayed around that. Maybe might have gone from 8 more points to 7 more points per game or something along those lines. But I think it would have stayed somewhat similar. But you are right. He did play 10 less games than he did last year.
And speaking of games played, I did just want to say to Wudi's point with Poole versus DeJounte Murray. Excellent point, by the way, because DeJounte last year, basically playing minutes per game, I guess you could say. Minutes per game is the same, but Jordan Poole got a lot better, so he deserved to play more this year than he did last year, and that's why I think he began to shine. That's improvement. Last year you weren't really getting an opportunity. You weren't really good enough to play. This year you became good enough to play, and you did something while you were out there.
Ja did.
My pick is still DeJounte Murray, but yes, yes, no,
I don't think any of those guys are bad picks again, but Ja definitely improved, but he like you said, Nick, to your point, Ja's points per game skyrocket. Like if you look at his stat line, it was like, oh, Ja decided that he's just going to take control. Exactly. Like after 2 years, he was like, nah, this is my ball.
From his rookie season, he's up 10 points per game in 2 seasons. I mean, that's right there. He's just taking control of the ball a lot more than he did early on. And maybe that's because he was a rookie and he just sort of stood back a little bit more and wanted to facilitate to other veterans on the team. But I listen, 8 points per game in one season increase, plus everything on the offensive end except for assists. I got to go Ja.
Yeah, it's very, very respectable. Very respectable. He is man, he's going to be in the MVP conversation at some point in his career. We know that.
Absolutely.
8 points a game, in your third season in and not get in the MVP conversation. So it's going to be the future is bright in the NBA.
Absolutely.
And the Grizzlies are the second best team in the NBA. That is crazy.
Wild.
But now let's talk about Coach of the Year.
Well, now I'll start this off because you guys were talking about Ja. And Ja is tremendous. Like literally, I love Ja Morant. He literally might be my favorite person to watch in the league today. But trying to watch him recently, he's been hurt. And the cool thing about that is that the Grizzlies actually didn't miss a beat. Not like the Cavs before, where like they did miss some beats, but they were still competitive. No, they didn't. They finished second in the West. Okay, they have been rolling, and Ja wasn't the only injury that they had to endure. My pick for Coach of the Year. Is there a question? You guys will probably find one, but I don't have it. Taylor Jenkins, what he's done to wrangle these boys, wrangle these Grizzlies to the second spot in the West with all the competition that's in that division, the conference, doesn't even matter. They are second. Taylor Jenkins, kudos to him for dealing with all the injuries, all the lineup changes. AD, right, talking about, hey, we have more lineup changes than wins. Well, you know what? The Grizzlies, they were enduring all those injuries, and they're second in the West. Shout out Taylor Jenkins.
Well, excellent pick. And I'm going to actually have to piggyback off of that. When you talk about coaches who have done a lot with a little bit, I know people may think that my pick is going to be Monty Williams, but it's not. Listen, I love the job Monty has done. Last year was the year I felt Monty should have won Coach of the Year. But this year, there's one particular coach that gets disrespected, and I've disrespected him. Because I'm just like, he's probably not that good of a coach. I don't like his out of bounds plays sometimes. But this year, this guy was on another level. And my favorite player of all time once stepped over him after he crossed him up in the corner in the championship game. I'm talking about Tyronn Lue. Listen, Coach Lue taking to LA Clippers to a 42-40 record in a season where Kawhi Leonard didn't play a game, Norman Powell only played 5 games, Paul George only played 31 games, Robert Covington, who was supposed to be a big piece of their puzzle, only played 10 games. They still kept winning games. I'm not sure if all of you, without Googling it, or those of you watching the show, can name other players than the guys that I named. Reggie Jackson, is Reggie Jackson a guy that can carry a team to the playoffs? But listen, Coach Lou brought it. He brought it every night. He brought it against the good teams. He weathered that storm. And the best record usually, the coach with the best record usually gets Coach of the Year. But I think when you look at this type of circumstance, you have to put Tyronn Lue in that conversation. And if you ask me, he deserves it more than any coach in the league.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to do you the favor of covering your Suns for you. Monty Williams does get my vote. He won the peer vote, which I respect a lot, right? Like some of the media and the writers and things like that can, have even subconscious biases, right? And I think when you get the peer vote, those are people who are doing what you're doing, right? Like they know what it takes, what you've done, the strides that you've made, and like the players, looking at those players that are on the floor and what you're doing with them every single night in and night out. And I think that the media got it wrong last year. I mean, I think Monty Williams is sadly an underrated coach just for this fact, right? Like the fact that I have to say that is kind of ridiculous to me. Like, I mean, we're looking at the fact that Monty Williams. All right, let's look at the NBA history, where the Suns went from 19 wins to 34 wins to 51 wins to 64 wins this year. Those last 3, by the way, were coached by Monty Williams. How many Coach of the Year awards does he have? Like, what the heck are we we're talking 2 seasons. He went from 34 to 64. That one in between was the 51, and everybody was like, wow, Monty Williams is great, but we're not going to give him Coach of the Year. He's got to win more games. Oh, Monty Williams goes out, wins 64 games, loses under 20 games in the season, loses Chris Paul, overcomes everything that's thrown at him throughout the season. They just keep winning in a tough conference. You've got Steph and the Warriors. You've got the Memphis Grizzlies on the rise. You've got so much going on in that. Even the crap teams, like even the Lakers, who are flopping this year, they can beat you on any night. They got 3 stars out there, potentially. Like, it's just like, and Monty Williams isn't going to we're not going to give him Coach of the Year after getting 60. I mean, it's right in your face. Let's not make anything more of it. He won 64 freaking games this year with that team. Come on, give the guy the Coach of the Year.
I wanted to jump in there at every single point that you just made and say yes. It's Monty Williams. You have to give the award to Monty Williams. Yes. All right. You got robbed last year. He won 54 games when like you mentioned, the previous year he won. You're just robbing him of the award if you don't give it to him this year again. Yes, last year won 51 games. Phenomenal. He's not done. He's not done.
13 more
games this season.
Winning 13 more. Like, if your boss came to you and you won 51 games and he was like, all right, I'm going to need 10 more from you next year. You're like, what? I mean, okay, I'll try. He goes out there and wins 13 more. Come on. What, he's going to win? He has to go win 70 next year, and then are we going to give it to him then? Or is that
no? We're not going to give it to him because it's going to be too obvious of a pick if he wins 70.
Too obvious, yeah. Yeah, we got to find ways to not give it to him.
No, I'm going Monty Williams 100%. Every point that you just made, ZJ, is absolutely spot on. 100% is Monty Williams. The Western Conference has always been, in my eyes, still is the best conference in the NBA. I don't think it's going to change for a while.
That's true.
It's top heavy in the Eastern Conference. A little bit more than it usually is. Usually it's like top 2 teams. A little bit more. I think there's a little bit more space after that. But the Western Conference is always stacked from top to bottom, and that's without the Lakers this year. And like you said, the Lakers can still beat you on any night.
They got LeBron.
as much as we all love to hate on LeBron and the Lakers and how bad they played this season, they could still go out and beat you on a good night. Like it's still LeBron. You can have, LeBron in his early years in Cleveland, it was LeBron and nobody, and he still managed to win.
Yep.
The Western Conference is stacked from top to bottom. I think Monty Williams is the clear-cut favorite to win that title, especially since not only did he win 64 games, he won 64 games and got the 1 seed in the West. There's a big difference between, maybe another team won 66, 67 games or so, and you might look over him a little bit. He got the 1 seed as well. I think you got to go Monty there.
Will is tickled right now.
Well, I am. Listen, I want to see a coach win Coach of the Year who really had to get his hands dirty. That's why I felt last year Monty Williams should have been that guy. He got his team back. Like, that's what they should have done. The team is way better than even expected. Like, they're a championship contender for real. But I love it. If he wins the award, I will be really extremely happy. But now let's talk about the more controversial award, the Most Valuable Player award. 2 names have been going around. There's been an additional 2 players added to the conversation. Devin Booker is the best player on the best team. He's held it down for when Chris Paul was out. But it looks like this criteria in the NBA may be falling away, which I would like to see it fall away with the Coach of the Year award too. So I'll tell you guys my pick for the Most Valuable Player of the Year. And it's so funny because about a year ago, when we were just pretty much in the Batcave kind of practicing this side-to-side nation, this journey, we were having this conversation, Wudi, CJ, and myself, between these 2 guys, Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. Who should be the MVP? And again, I'm going to tell you, Joel Embiid is the NBA's MVP this year. The NBA scoring leader. He is that. Joel Embiid did not play the entire season with James Harden by his side. Only the last couple months and a half, pretty much since the trade deadline. And James Harden is not the James Harden that people, not many people are fearing the beard anymore. A lot of these games, Embiid had to carry him. So I know a lot of people use Jokic didn't have anybody around him, but listen, this is a league where you have to win. And Joel Embiid has a plus 500 record against the teams that are in the playoffs. Nikola Jokic does not have a winning record against the teams that are in the playoffs. He has incredible stats. I cannot take that away from him. He has incredible stats, but you got to win games. In my opinion, Joel Embiid has done that. He's the league scoring champion, and this is his year. He is the most valuable player. He gets my vote.
Well, while we're rehashing the past, let me throw one in for the Joker, Nikola Jokic, because that is my pick. It was my pick last year, and he won. It's my pick this year. He's probably not going to win because KD actually had a good point, right? To win back-to-back, that second year has to be spectacular. And although I do believe, being the absolute first player in the 75-year history of the NBA to have 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 500 assists in a season is spectacular. It might not be spectacular enough to repeat, but I do think he deserves the award. We're talking about wins. I mean, the Nuggets have 3 less wins than the Sixers. And we're talking about supporting casts. Embiid in the beginning of the year, like it definitely wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. I actually feel like the same could be said for both guys. Jokic, I don't like how Will phrased that, where he has great stats as if his stats are empty. I mean, he is a game-changing player. The team functions as Jokic functions. Okay, like he is carrying the squad, much like Embiid is carrying the squad. They have different games, but I just feel like Jokic is he is that dude. He can do it. playmaking. Like, he doesn't even have to score every time, right? He has all these highlight passes that we all see. He can rebound, he can defend. Not to say that I feel like they both can do so many of the same things, but they have different games. And I feel like Jokic has to be my pick because, he's doing work with the Nuggets and he's doing something that nobody has done before.
Sorry again, Sports Nation, but I agree with Wudi. Jokic, he didn't have my vote last year. He didn't. I was fighting on the other side in our young days, but Jokic, I mean, it's about statistics. I am this, a year ago when we were doing this, you guys were making fun of me for being the stats guy and always pulling out the stats, but this is what, I mean, you can look at it all you want. Like, if you want to watch a game, then Ja Morant is probably your pick because he's so freaking fun to watch. Like, and he's putting up 28, but like, it's not about that, right? When you look at player efficiency rating, when you look at player impact rating, those are statistics that try to capture a player, like the most valuable player statistically, right? So regardless of who your teammates are, regardless of just taking into account all of the extra things around you and just saying, okay, how efficient is this person above their replacement, above the next average player? Jokic wins out. Go look at the stats. He's 2 points above the next guy, who is in fact Embiid, because Embiid is having an MVP caliber season. There's no doubt about it. But Jokic is averaging more points than last year when he won it. He's averaging 3 more rebounds somehow than last year. Like, we were just talking about how that's a lot for Ja Morant. Well, Jokic is averaging 3 more rebounds than he did in his MVP season. He's averaging just about the same amount of assists. He's averaging more steals. He's literally having a better season than he did in his MVP season. Now, the one thing that I want to also point out is the field goal percentage. The field goal percentage is very, very important, especially at the center position. Very respectable. Embiid's at 50%. Jokic is at 58%. That's where a lot of the efficiency comes in. And the offense and the mill runs through him. And it's clear that if you take one of those guys off, I hate saying that comparison, but if you take one of those guys off either of their teams, the Nuggets roster, yuck. What are you doing? You're going to go with Aaron Gordon as your guy? Yeah, like, come on, please. I can't see Jokic not winning it after he had a better season than he did last year and he won it.
The Nuggets didn't have another player over 15 points per game besides Jokic. Like, he almost averaged a triple-double. And I'm a baseball fan through and through. WAR, wins above replacement, is your be-all, end-all statistical category when it comes to who's the best in baseball. You just said it. Jokic had 2 more. He was 2 points better than Embiid. So if you're going to look at in-depth statistics, not just like Will said, not just your run-of-the-mill points, rebounds, assists, whatever you want to look at. If you're looking at in-depth statistics, Jokic is the MVP. But on top of that, if you're going just basic, he almost averaged a triple-double on a team that had nobody, like you just said, CJ. Like, there is nobody else on that team that could lead that team to the playoffs in general. They won 14 games over 500. Like, that's an impressive thing to do, regardless of who's on your team. You're a playoff team regardless at 14 over.
I have a good thought experiment right now for the group. And I mean, mainly for Will, because he seems to be the only one not on the Jokic train.
Sorry, Will.
No. This is a genuine question. I'm wondering, what team do you think would win head-to-head if Jokic was traded to the Sixers and Embiid was traded to the Nuggets? Like, do you think that Embiid would be able to carry the team the same way or better than Jokic did with the Nuggets? Actually, that's a better way of phrasing that. If they were traded 1-for-1, you think Embiid, they'd be in the same or similar or better position than Nuggets?
Well, I mean, I actually think we are disrespecting the crap out of Monty Morris and Will Barton.
I don't
They
think
are good players. They are not trash. They are good players.
on.
No, they're good players. Like, they are good players. They're not trash, right? Yes, they're not Michael Porter Jr. and they're not Murray, but they are good players.
They're not
can,
even.
They can catch and shoot. You know, they can.
They're
score.
not Tobias Harris. They're certainly not Tobias Harris.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Tobias Harris is just a highly paid player.
What?
Arguably, you can argue that Aaron Gordon had just as good as a season as Tobias Harris. You can argue that.
What?
You absolutely
Because of Jokic. Because Jokic passes the ball and averages 4 more assists a game than Embiid does.
Okay, that's fine. Embiid is a scorer. Embiid is a true post player. Now look, Jokic, he can pass the ball. I mean, I'm not taking that away from him. Like I said, he had a very good statistical year. He had a really good year. He did. Like, you know, they play a certain style of basketball, and he is their point guard. He's the point center. He has the ball in his hands. It's his job to make the plays, right? That's not Embiid's job. Well, that's not Embiid's job, because listen, if we're going by that, then there's certain players who have been statistically dominant more than other players, but they did not win the MVP because their team wasn't as good, right? So if the NBA is going to be consistent with their criteria, we're down to 2 players this year. One player is the 4th seed, another player is the 6th seed. And I just got to say, you know, when the Sixers are playing against one of the better teams, Embiid is helping them win those games. Like, if you watch the game, not the box score, like, Embiid is having an impact, and the Sixers are competing. This is even before the James Harden trade. You know, the Sixers bring it when they're playing against a big team. When you watch the Denver Nuggets, you know, play against the Sacramento Kings, and Jokic drops 40, 21 rebounds and 11 assists, we're like, yo, Jokic is killing it. But then when you watch Jokic play against the Miami Heat, you know, it's not the same. He's still good. So I'm not saying like he's trash against the Heat. Please. That's not what I'm saying. But one thing that has always been consistent with me about Nikola Jokic, and is not saying too much this year because street clothes wasn't really on the court that much. But, you know, when you take like an Anthony Davis and you just put him on Jokic, look at last year in the playoffs when DeAndre Ayton was just guarding Jokic. He doesn't bring it the same way when that low post dominant athletic player is guarding him. There's not many players in the league that can guard him. So he can go fluff up that stat sheet against the trash in the league, right? And again, I'm not trying to disrespect him. I'm just saying, Embiid, there's no one that can stop him. You put Embiid on Jokic, Embiid's going to give Jokic a hard time.
I can't.
So,
Will, there's just one major point. Like, there's just the people around Jokic. There's no way that Jokic should be able to put up the efficiency in field goal percentage, because he's got to be the center of attention on there. He has to get his guys immaculately good shots, because look, I mean, Monte Morris and Will Barton, no disrespect, they're probably on a good team, a 6th or 7th guy on the bench. These guys aren't starting. Come on.
Are you really saying that they're better than Maxey and Harris?
I said they're good players. But, well, Tobias Harris is not that good of a player.
Yes, like, he is, but he is.
Tobias Harris is wanted out of that city. Like, you know, he's a guy that's out there. He has a big contract.
Let me tell you this. If the Sixers were starting Jeff Green and their backup power forward was J. Michael Green, you'd throw up in your mouth.
But another thing you have to realize this. Joel Embiid gets double teamed in the post. This makes it easier for Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris. Jokic doesn't get double teamed in the post as much because he is facilitating the ball. Now, when he gets the ball in the post, right, you know, it's his job to hit the open man. So it's not like he's always bringing the ball up court. I get that. But the same argument can be for both. Just like Wudi said, they just play different styles. Embiid still commands a double team. You take Embiid off the Sixers, Tobias Harris isn't averaging 17. Maxey isn't averaging 17. Like, it's not happening. Like,
I actually disagree in a sense with you on that, Will. I want to go off of what CJ said a little bit. If you traded them 1 for 1, let's just take them off of their 2 teams in general and pretend they don't even exist. The Nuggets aren't winning 15 games. in the NBA without Jokic. Like they might not win 15 games. They might not win double digits. Like you take Embiid off of the Sixers, and the Sixers, yeah, they're probably not a playoff team, but they're going to win a decent amount of games. You take Jokic, you take Nikola off of the Nuggets. They're not winning 15 games in a season. I think, and to answer CJ's question as well, if you traded them 1-for-1, I think the style of basketball that Jokic plays suits the rest of his team. Like you said, he has to get the rest of his teammates wide open shots. He has to draw the defense away and then get them open. And I think with Embiid, he plays a different style where he is going to draw defenders as well, but I still got to go with Jokic for sure.
Yeah, it's I mean, and say what you want about Toby Harris, all right? The man's averaging 17-7-4 or 17-7-3 or something like that. We were just talking about how Cade Cunningham's really good because he's averaging 17-5-5. Well, let's be on the same page and say, okay, 17-7-4 is pretty good.
You're talking about a rookie compared to other rookies.
We're just
he has the rookie of the year vote, but you can't just compare stats to stats. That makes no sense. You're talking about rookies, right? Rookies, first-year players averaging 17-5-5. That's not common. Did Tobias Harris average 17-5-5 as a rookie? No. He's X years into the league, and he's averaging 17, playing alongside the most dominant post player in the league. That's my point. You know, Tobias Harris isn't leading a team anywhere by himself. That's not what
he was on the Clippers averaging 21 points a game. I literally think you are disrespecting Tobias Harris. This is actually the least amount of points in a season he has averaged in like 6 years.
Ever.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. But he's 29 years old right now. He is not the same player today that he was on the Clippers. That's just not him. You can't just look at the 3 years.
That's not that long.
That doesn't matter. All it takes is one season. Like if you watch the Sixers play, if we had a Sixers fan on here, they want Tobias Harris off the team. There's a reason why.
And no disrespect, please don't beat me up. But Philly fans are irrational. We can't use them as
what I'm saying is he doesn't have a significant impact. Like, yes, he averages 17 points a game. Now Tyrese Maxey averages a legit, he impacts games. Like there's been games that he's been the reason they won the game. Like he has that type of impact. Tobias is going to get his when he can get his. Like it's going to happen because Embiid is taking all of the attention away. So
meanwhile, Morris and Barton aren't getting nothing. They not doing it. Doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. They're not
agreed.
Which is kind of what
you're asking Monty Morris. You're asking Monty Morris to march out there with Will Barton and Aaron Gordon with J. Michael Green and Jeff Green. What kind of a street ball? I mean, they might be a big 3 lineup one day. Like
they're winning 9 games. They're winning 9 games in a regulation NBA season.
I don't know, man. It's big time disrespect to Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, and Monty Morris. I mean, you guys, we're talking about them playing with the big 3. That is big disrespect to those guys. But hey, that is the MVP conversation, and we're going to see how they call it. One of these guys are going to win. And it is going to be nice to revisit this conversation for sure. But let's talk about the playoffs, the NBA playoffs. It is that time of the year. Now, what we're going to do is talk about what teams do you think are going to make it out of the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. And I'll start the party off, and I'm going to be honest. Like you all know I'm a Suns fan. I've been riding with the Suns ever since Charles Barkley played there. Over the last 10 years, they have not been a good team. So there hasn't been much to talk about after the 7 seconds or less Suns. They really went into the trash can. But this resurgence of the team since they got Chris Paul and Monty Williams there has been great. But I'm not confident that they're going to make it out of the West. I totally believe that the Memphis Grizzlies are the most complete team I just think they're just dangerous. They're deep. They're young. They're scrappy. They're hungry. They got nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. And I just think that is a difference maker. If I do think the Suns are going to make it to the Western Conference Finals, I also think the Grizzlies are going to get there. They have a tougher path to get there, but I think they're going to scratch and claw. And when they get there, I just think like the sense of urgency is going to be hard. They actually beat up on the Suns. That's one of those teams that the Suns don't match up well with, unfortunately. So I got the Grizzlies coming out of the West. Out of the East, I'll tell you what. I'm just going to fast forward to the pick, not the journey, but the Milwaukee Bucks are going back to the finals. I've got the Bucks versus the Grizzlies going to the NBA Finals.
Okay.
Wow. No, that's those aren't bad picks at all, actually. I think the Suns are almost a guarantee to get to the Western Conference Finals. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm literally not trying to. But
I'll go ahead and say your thing, man. I'm just not listening.
Oh, all right.
Well, no guarantees.
All right. Well, 4 and 5. I mean, Luka Doncic. It's horrific timing of his situation. So I guess the Jazz win by default, but Donovan Mitchell, his head's not where it needs to be. I just feel like the Suns, as long as they do work against the Clips, assuming that they make it, they're going to the finals. Now this is tough because the Grizz and this actually is exactly what just happened in the NFL with the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, they shocked a lot of people, and it's like, oh yeah, no, they're playing well, but they're not going to do this, and then they do it. Oh yeah, but they're not going to beat them, and then next thing they're in the Super Bowl. So honestly, the Grizz, I feel like it's going to be Suns Grizz in the Western Conference Finals. I can't say. So I literally don't know. Let me get back to that. The East is a little easier. This is going to be crazy. I know it's going to sound crazy, but so far I've been right with the East predictions. I think the winner of the first round matchup between the Nets and the Celtics are going to represent the Eastern Conference in the finals. I truly do believe that. I mean, the Heat kind of have that easier matchup as well, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like, they got a tough road. The Raptors are a really deep, well-coached defensive team. Like, I feel like the Raptors and the Heat are it's almost like looking in the mirror, whereas the Celtics and the Nets, they are heating up at the right time. All right. They got multiple finishers, all right, that can close out the game, right? They can get hot. I think that is the series where we're going to see I think we're going to see the eventual winner. So going back to it, I'm going to have to go with the 7th seed Brooklyn Nets. I don't know. I'm putting them in the finals against the Grizz.
I'll allow it. Everybody knows I'm diehard Celtics, so that's I want to pick them, right? I think I would be picking them if Rob Williams was 100% healthy and still playing, and we were riding that train. I think he's too big of a piece to lose. Even if you escape the Nets the first round, you're likely facing the Bucks unless the Bulls pull off a miracle, but nobody sees that happening. So to get even to the Eastern Conference Finals to face whoever, you've got to slog through probably 2 7-game series, one versus the Nets, one versus the Bucks, and then you got to go and face whoever tough team comes up next, which I'm going to tell you my pick to come out of the East is the Heat. And the reason for that is that they have, in my opinion, potentially the easiest schedule. Okay. So they're going to either face the Hawks or the Hornets. As of today, we don't know. I think they're going to get through that matchup without a problem in a 7-game series. I think both of those teams are respectable, but not respectable enough to beat the Heat in 7 games. Then they're going to have the Sixers or the Raptors. I think head to head, they have the advantage. I think Lowry is going to have something to say if he plays the Raptors again. He's just a great leader, and that's a huge aspect of their team. And why I think they're going to come out of the East is because Kyle Lowry is, with intangibles, a piece that they needed, right? And to sometimes have to rein Butler and that team is just complete. And people forget they just got Oladipo back. He's only been playing with them for 4 or 5 games now, so that boy can play and add a little flavor to that squad. And it's just going to come down to who they're facing, whether it's going to be the Celtics, the Bucks, or the Nets. And I think listen, if the Celtics can scoot past and get Rob Williams back, we'll have a different conversation about this. I don't think it's happening. I think the Nets are going to take it, and then the next Bucks flip a coin. I'm not sure who's going to end up winning that matchup, but either way, I think both of those teams, again, the grind of having to play through these teams and what you're going to have to put through, the effort before you get to the Heat, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. I think they're going to collapse once they hit the Heat. West Coast, you guys are going to be surprised by this, but I think it's Luka Magic time. And again, it's because of the path. It's because of the path. Okay. So I'm not ultra confident in the Suns because I've seen the collapse. I have seen Chris Paul collapse. I'm just I'm not sold on the Suns being there. So their path is going to be to face the Jazz, who are just woefully ineffective in the latter half of games lately. And I don't think that they're going to recover. It doesn't seem like Mitchell and Gobert get along. It just does not seem like that team is going anywhere. So I think they're getting out of the first round easy.
But Luka's not playing. I don't know. Like, we don't know if he's going to play the first round.
The interference in the path
up in the
is
air
the calf right now. The interference with the path is the calf. He's got a calf strain, and his time to return is to be determined.
That's what I said in my answer. I was like, it's unfortunate what happened to Luka because I felt like they were rolling. But now he's literally out indefinitely.
Being updated on that. That was my pick prior to this. The news. I'm glad that they pulled the suspension. That was really kind of irritating me with his technical foul. But all right, I guess my pick will have to probably be the Suns due to the same reason. No, their path, that path. I'm genuinely looking at what the matchups might be for teams if they end up winning. What the likely matchups would be, or who the teams would be that they play. I mean, Memphis potentially having to get by Golden State. That's the most likely. That's going to be a grind. I don't know who's going to end up winning that matchup. I mean, the Suns getting by the Pelicans or the Spurs. I think that's happening, and then they have to face the Jazz, or now this news. The potentially just off injury, Luka Doncic, Mavericks team. So, okay, the upper hand's there, and then they're going to have to get by the toughest team on the other side, and that's where it becomes, another tough find. But
it's like designed for like the number one seeds to have an easy path. Like that doesn't mean the number one.
No, I understand that. I'm very well aware of that. But there's also, you can say that all you want, but the Nets shouldn't be a 7 seed. So.
True.
So things happen, and so I've got a scorching hot finals between the Suns and the Heat.
The wordplay.
You like Gaddy?
I like to go against the grain a little bit, and I was going with both James and CJ. I was gonna go the Luka path in the West, but with that big question mark, even if he returns for the first round or for part of the first round, is he healthy enough to play? Is he healthy enough to be a factor in that series, a positive factor in that series? So out of the West, I like to go against the grain, but I can't. I got to go the Suns in the West. It's just like you mentioned, they have the clearest path out of all the teams out there. And for the East, I want to go against the grain. I want to pick something different, but I also want to see a rematch of last year. So I'm actually going to go Bucks and Suns. And I think it's going to be a great series. I think it's going to go a little bit longer than last season. I do think it's going to go 7 games instead of 6 this year. But we'll get to my pick, who I think is going to win in a little bit. But we'll But I am going to go Bucks, and I am going to go Bucks Suns in the finals.
Yeah, what do you think is happening in a little bit? Like, are you about to?
Oh, I thought you guys were going to go around and make your final championship predictions as well.
I mean, I guess we can do that really quick. I mean, I got the Grizzlies versus the Bucks. Low key, I really can't wait to see this Boston versus Brooklyn series. Kyrie back, and it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. I actually think the Celtics are gonna win, but anyway, that's besides the point. I think the Bucks are back. They've got their size. Brook Lopez makes a big difference for that team. He just makes a huge difference. He frees Giannis up so much. Drew Holiday, one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. As long as their head coach doesn't have them shooting 50 to 63s a game, it's going to be hard to beat them. But I got the Bucks beating the Grizz in the NBA Finals.
Well, I had the Grizz and the Nets. I felt like that 2-7 matchup is going to have a huge impact on the rest of the Eastern Conference. They are both just, they got multiple closers, deep teams, just too explosive, really, really just too explosive. So against the Grizz, I also have them losing in the finals. I think this is the year that people start, putting some respect back to Kyrie. I feel like, at the top of that roster are two guys that the whole world feels have been carried to their championships. And I'm not disagreeing. I'm definitely not. They definitely were never the catalyst of a championship organization. But this might be the time. That chip is huge. So the Nets at the 7th seed. That is my pick.
Wow. That's bold. It's bold. I'm gonna give it to the Suns over the Heat, and they're gonna collect the championship. I'm on the Suns hype train right now, huh? But for real, they're cruising. They're good. They play good team basketball. It's like if one piece of that team falls, even if they get hurt during the playoffs, aside from maybe Chris Paul or Devin Booker, you got guys that can step in and play and know their role. And Monty Williams has them clicking. 64 games is a tough amount of games to win. I'll tell you that. It's not, they haven't stopped rolling, right? Like we talk about teams that start rolling. The team's catching heat. The Suns have been. That's been all season if you haven't been watching. And I see no reason why that shouldn't stop in the playoffs. And if they meet my prediction in the Heat in the finals again, I mean, I just think that their defense is suffocating. There's not one guy, right? Like that's why I feel like Milwaukee's tough on them because Giannis he's Giannis. I mean, you can't just stick one guy in front of him. You got to have a game plan around him. And if he's playing like an MVP and dishing the ball when he has to and making good decisions with the basketball, the Bucks are just ridiculous. You said it yourself, getting Brook Lopez back, stretching the floor. Now you got Bobby Portis playing out of his mind some games, coming up with clutch shot. Everybody forgets that Chris Middleton's even there at some points. And like, he's an ace 3-point shooter. I mean, there's just, that team is built properly. But I think it's the Suns, man. I'm just gonna keep on that train, riding that train. Best team in the NBA. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, and I had Bucks Suns. And I think it's gonna go 7 games. I think it's gonna be a little bit longer than last season. I'm going back and forth on who I think is gonna win. But I'm gonna go off of what you said, CJ, and I think the Suns play team basketball. And I think I'm gonna go Suns. I was leaning Bucks earlier, may have switched my pick there, but I'm gonna go Suns in 7. I think they want redemption. I think they're gonna come out, they're gonna play hard. It is gonna go 7, but I think I'm gonna go Suns in 7.
Dope. Love it. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing the Suns win. I have nothing against the Suns.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to have a horse in this race for decades. So, I mean, it is what it
is.
Well,
I know the feeling.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to hear us out. This is the segment where we look straight to the camera and we tell you what's on our mind. And if you don't mind, I'm actually going to start this segment off because I need the Los Angeles Lakers to hear me out. Listen, Rob Pelinka, you are the general manager of the team. If you are going to let a player run your team, one of the biggest franchises in the world, this is not Cleveland. What do you have a job for? Jeannie Buss, if you're going to sit up there in the highest chair and just let that happen, what do you have the team for? The Lakers front office needs to take their team back. This is pathetic for that organization. As a Suns fan, I love it, but I love the competition. The league is not the same when the Lakers are lacking. And this offseason, you got to get it right. The biggest disaster last year, Frank Vogel aside, whatever you want, he's fired. Only bringing 3 players back, THT, AD, and LBJ. Those are the only 3 players you brought back. Let everybody else go. How do you expect to just go on a championship run when you're adding 9 new players at least to the team? That makes no sense. And guess what? How many players are under contract next year? LeBron, THT, Russell Westbrook, who you don't want, and AD, who's street clothes. So you're about to be in the same situation next year. Listen, LA, it's time. You have to offer to trade LeBron James. Yeah, he's not going to ask for a trade. He wants to be in LA. But you got to tell him, we got to move on. We got to move apart. You need to take your franchise back, LA. It's time to do it. Hear me out.
Did you just tell them to trade LeBron James?
Yeah, I told them to do it. They're not going to do it, but they need to do it. It's not about LeBron. It's about their team. Like, LeBron's about to be 38. Like, this isn't LeBron in 2010. This is 2022 LeBron. He's putting up stats. He's going to play. He's always going to be a good player out there. He is. But right now, you have no cap. You have nothing. You have no players. You got 4 players and 0 cap. And you're going to try to be better next year? No, you can't do it. If you want to be good, you got to get rid of something. Maybe you got to trade LeBron and AD. You got to start over. You messed it up, and it's time to clean it up.
Wow.
Ben,
all right, I can go.
Yeah, do it up. Let's go.
My message. I don't even want to talk to this person. I really don't, but I feel like it has to be said. The reason why it has to be said is not for the name on my chest, but for the colors of my chest. All right, I am a New Yorker. Okay, all right. I love my bagels. I love my pizza. All right, Chinese food. I mean, it smells horrible, but it is one of the greatest cities in the world. And you came in broken. Okay, nobody wanted you. We fixed you. All right, made you an all-star, and now Julius Randle, for some reason, thinks he's like Larry Legend. Okay, he's been disrespecting assistant coaches. He doesn't, practice with the team. He doesn't dress in the locker room with the team. He is so Hollywood. Who do you think you are? Like, do you actually think that you are like Mamba level? Do you think that you're even like Bam Adebayo level? Like, I don't even understand, Julius, who you think you are, but you need to cut this out. As a matter of fact, I shouldn't even be talking to you. I should be talking to Leon Rose to trade your sorry bum. That's actually what I want. I need you off the team. I don't even want you. But because we may be stuck with you in your insufferable contract that we gave you for no good reason, I need you to buckle up and shut up. All right. If you want to be a leader, you need to lead by example. Okay. You played with Kobe. You trying to tell people that you adopted the Mamba mentality, but you look like a garden snake. You're a bum. Okay. I need you to be a leader and stop all this foolishness. Stop disrespecting the organization that made you who you are. Okay. Hear me out.
And then come to Phoenix next year. Keep rising with the sun.
Good. Go.
You're gonna need a coach of the year for that.
Oh.
Oh my god.
Again, Nick, you can close this one out because I'll go here, and I don't know who this was. It might have been Ime Udoka. It might have been Brad Stevens. I don't know who decided to trot out our best lineup the last game of the year, knowing that all we had to do was lose to not play the Nets in the first freaking round of the playoffs. The Grizzlies sat 9 guys on their team. We sat Nick Stauskas. What? You're preparing for the playoffs. Just rest your guy. Tatum, no reason to play. Brown, what if one of them got hurt? Like, even if your excuse is, we want to do well. Okay, great. Bench your players because it doesn't, you want to lose this game. What is so difficult about losing a game? Just if Celtics fans aren't as irate as I am now with this absolutely bizarre move, yes, I understand, the Celtics pride, we want to win. Great, fantastic. Well, we want to win in the playoffs too. And knowing that Rob Williams might come back for round 2 for you, and you'll get your full roster back. And all you have to do is just get through round 1. Why are you just doubling up on a bad hand and saying, yeah, we want Kyrie? No, you don't. No, you do not. You want to know why? Because Kyrie is standing next to Kevin Durant, who's the best player in the world, and he's going to destroy you. So please hear me out. I'm about to just blow up into a green poof and just start following the Knicks, or I don't know what I'm.
No, don't
Definitely don't do that.
I can't. This made me so upset that I literally said, if we have a hear me out segment, I have to be biased. I have no choice. That was the most moronic move. That was just, I can't. Whoever. Ime, please tell me it wasn't you. You came back. You came back in my soul, and I started to like you. And if you did that, that was your decision. Oh. You might have lost a fan. Well, we'll see what happens in the first round. God, I mean, I'll have my green goggles on. I'll be ready for them to beat the Nets. But why are you? It's just. That's all I got. Take it away, Nick.
Well, thank you. You guys stayed NBA. I'm gonna float to baseball. I know we didn't talk baseball today, but New York Mets fans, I'm a diehard Mets fan. New York Mets fans, you need to hear me out. Let's breathe. Let's take a step back. Tonight was the 6th game of the season. Yes, our bullpen blew back-to-back games. They gave up 8 runs in 6 innings of work. Whatever it happened to be. Let's breathe. It's not the same old Mets. I'm tired of seeing that all over social media. Same old Mets. Everybody's injured. This and it. We're not the same old Mets. It's different baseball. We have an owner that's going to spend money. He's the richest owner in sports. He's worth $17 billion, literally. $16 to $17 billion. It's not the Wilpon era anymore. They're not going to nickel and dime this team for year after year after year.
You guys just got Scherzer.
Let's breathe. We have Max Scherzer. Yeah, DeGrom's injured. That sucks. It really, really does. You have 2 aces. Chris Bassett is playing like an ace. Chris Bassett's a 1 on some teams. He's our 3 when everybody's healthy. Taijuan Walker just went out with an injury. No big deal. Peterson looked phenomenal yesterday, pitching 4 innings in relief when Walker went out. Let's just take a step back, breathe, and realize that this isn't the same old Mets. Stop being worried. Let's just let Steve Cohen do his thing. If it comes to trade deadline and maybe they're sitting at 500, a couple games over, maybe a couple games out of the playoffs, he's going to spend money. He's going to make trades. He's going to get you the players that we need to win a title. Could it be this year? Should it be this year? Yes, it really should be this year. From top to bottom, they have a great offense, great their defense behind their starting pitching. Middle infield is phenomenal. Let's just breathe. I'm going to say that another 15 times. Let's breathe, Mets fans. It's different this year. We're going to win baseball games. We're going to win 90+, and we're going to contend for a World Series title.
Hear him out. Hear us out, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that about does it for another episode of the Side to Side Sportscast. Nick, we thank you for your presence today. And please, shout out to your sports management group.
Yeah, Damage 365 Promotions. We work in the wrestling industry. We were in Dallas, Texas last weekend working at WrestleCon for WrestleMania weekend. We worked with some phenomenal talent. We've worked with Eric Bischoff, Bob Orton. We worked with Sean Stasiak last week. Thunder Rosa, AEW Women's Champion. Nyla Rose, former AEW Women's Champion. So yeah, if you're in the wrestling world, Damage 365 Promotions. You can find us on all social media. Website, everything. Keep up to date with everybody that we're bringing in. They'll be in Baltimore. We'll be in Baltimore next month with Nyla Rose, her first Northeast signing since winning the AEW Women's title. So yeah, absolutely check us out, and I appreciate you guys giving me a couple seconds to throw out the promotion for the company.
Oh yeah, man.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate you being side to side. And
Absolutely.
hey, this ain't the last time we'll ride. We will definitely have you by our side someday again. But ladies and gentlemen, we want you to come on the Sportscast, call it how you see it, call it how you saw it, call out those who didn't see it how you saw it. It's your time to shine, and we want you here right with us, the Side to Side crew. Until we see you, we out.